In this chapter, we've covered a lot of ground in regards to theming in Drupal. We started off by looking at the role of theming and how it overlaps and differs from designing and coding in Drupal. And then we did an overview of all of the different ways you can adjust output in Drupal, some of them through configuration, some of them through code, and some of them through CSS. From there, we looked at how you decide what the best way is to adjust the output when there's multiple options available to you. For example, we looked at why you might want to make modifications in code rather than in configuration, and introduced you to the Features module, which allows you to wrap up configuration changes and version control code, so you can use those in the same way that you would normally use code modifications. We looked at the difference between a theme function and a template file, and talked about reasons why you might want to use one over the other. And then we looked at the theme registry, which is an essential component of the theming layer, and which often causes issues if you don't understand how it works when you're making modifications to a theme. Next, we took a look at how to use the theme developer module in order to identify where any piece of output comes from on your page. And then we looked at view modes, which allow us to create reusable sets of structures that can be used to display a node in a particular context or across multiple contexts. We looked at field formatters and their role, and we'll look at those more in future videos. And then we looked at coding standards and how the coding standards that apply to coding modules apply to the theming layer. In particular, we looked at how to code a template file in such a way as to provide the most possible information to the themer, and to make it so that the logic that's embedded inside of a template file is only the necessary kind, and that everything else gets pushed to pre-processing functions or other parts of Drupal code. And finally, we looked at a working draft of CSS coding standards in order to give you some ideas around how to structure and organize your CSS files. There's a few things you can do from here before you move on to the next videos. First of all, it's a good idea to have a clear concept of what's available through configuration. So when you edit a content type, in particular the field section, it's good to be aware of the options there, the different types of formatters that are available, so that what you can do is go through those options and make sure you understand what each one does and play with them a little bit. Edit some content types and use different field formatters and different options like removing a label or adding a label and seeing what they do to the output. Next, you should wrap your mind around the idea of view modes, which are the way that we structure content to allow it to display in different ways on different pages or in different contexts. If you're feeling particularly enterprising, you can go through the themes directory in your Drupal site and see if you can pick out some of the tools that we explained throughout this chapter. For example, you can look for pre-processing functions or theme function overrides that are used in the template.php files in the various themes. And when you're ready, go ahead and move on to the next video.